Nationalism was one aspect of the Romantic era. It is music that reflects the melodies and rhythms of a particular region, derived from the folk songs and dances of the people there. Nationalistic composers wrote operas and program music inspired by the history, legends, and landscapes of their native lands, using the rhythms, tone colors, textures, and melodies of their country. Most often, composers dedicated themselves to the idiom of their own country, but sometimes experimented with the style of another. Sometimes the music inspired such strong feelings of national patriotism that it was banned from performances in countries that had been occupied by foreign powers. Sibelius of Finland wrote Finlandia, which inspired such patriotic fervor that its performance was banned in that country. He had to premiere it instead at the Metropolitan Opera House in America in 1914. Russia was a leader in the nationalistic movement. The country before had been culturally dependent on Europe. This dependency is witnessed in the extraordinary Baroque palaces that exist in the Russian cities, and also in the literature and the works of Tolstoy, showing the upper class who spoke French to each other when they wanted to sound cultured. A group of Russian composers called the Five banded together to create a Russian musical tradition. They were Borodin, Cui, Mussorgsky, Balakirev, and Rimsky-Korsakov. One example of Russian nationalistic music is Borodin's opera, Prince Igor, which contains the famous Polovetzian dances. The lovely opening melody from this work was extracted and later became the song Strangers in Paradise, used in the Broadway musical Kismet. Although the Russian Five rejected Tchaikovsky because they did not consider him sufficiently Russian since he was trained in Europe, he wrote some impressive nationalistic pieces. Perhaps the most famous is his concert overture, The War of 1812. This is program music depicting the victorious battle of the Russians over the Napoleon's French invasion. It starts with a Russian Orthodox hymn. This theme, representing Russia, becomes grand and powerful, eventually battling the French Marseillaise, complete with real cannons. Talk about going to extremes to add to your percussion section. Oddly enough, this has become a favorite at American 4th of July concerts, even though it has nothing to do with America, probably because it is so stirring and goes well with fireworks, but mostly because it has cannons. As I said, sometimes composers wrote works that reflected cultures other than their own. Remember that the Romantics loved the exotic, and Rimsky-Korsakov wrote a magical work on the story of Scheherazade. The story revolves around a vicious sultan who has all of his brides murdered on their wedding night. Scheherazade marries him, then tells him a bewitching tale but withholds the ending, like a cliffhanger season finale. The Sultan delays her execution until the next night, only to have her start a different story and again, not tell him the ending. In the end, after playing this game for 1,001 nights, her execution is permanently spared. This program music describes Scheherazade's tales and creates the feel of exotic Arabian music. You will hear in the strong opening a melody representing the Sultan. Then, around 45 seconds in, you hear a rapturous violin melody representing Scheherazade, themes that recur throughout the work. This is just the beginning of this work to give you a feel for it, but everything that I'm playing for you is very easy for you to access should you choose to hear the complete work. Dvorak of Czechoslovakia became famous for his Slavonic dances while in his native land. He eventually moved to America, where he became impressed with the melodies of the American Indians and blacks and used them to create an American style reflected in the New World Symphony. Your ebook provides you with the first movement. I wanted you to hear some of the second movement, though, because that is the most famous. After the opening brass, you hear the English horn playing a plaintive melody written to capture the spirit of America that became a popular song, Goin' Home. In Spain, Manuel de Falla wrote The Ritual Fire Dance, depicting a young woman who is haunted by her dead husband and dances a ritualistic fire dance to get rid of him. You'll notice the distinct Spanish flavor in this short segment of this work.